I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Boy, all that like Keenan. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix. Shine so bright, I'm gleaming. This off top, I'm tweaking. Fresh out the rat like Neiman. And I'm still tryna fight my demons. Cause we all gotta act like Tina. That's why I gotta ride with the Nina. Outside, it's a war going on. Make me put my hands on my head like the Macarena. They want you walking on board like Kima. Ain't give a F to you like John Cena. Putting blood on a brand new Beamer. Tryna earn they stripes like Adidas. You get cold when you ride with the heater. It'll turn you to a dog like a keto. And expose to a cat like a cheetah. They smoke my partner like reefer. Dímelo porque yo no entiendo. Mi gente must really need Jesus. He shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there.
Welcome in. Episode 109 of the WAG Show. I'm your host, Ben Hostler. We are here to talk about today's best bets and to preview the NFL. Day one of the NFL preview. I told you guys the last few days we're going division by division. So we'll be doing for the rest of the week. Today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, we'll be doing one NFC division. And then next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll be doing one AFC division. And yeah, I'm excited. Today we're doing the NFC South. So if you guys have any questions on any teams in the NFC South, I can answer those. We're going to look at the betting odds. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win the division. I'll talk about the teams a little bit. And then we will briefly look at the baseball slate after that. I have a few baseball teams that I like tonight. Hopefully it's better than yesterday. I did not have a good day betting baseball yesterday, which happens. It's unfortunate, but was not good. I mean, for the season, I'm up over 21 units betting on baseball, and at times it feels like I'm down 20 units. Like, I can't even begin to describe how hard betting on baseball is. Like, the fact that I'm up 21 units is insane because I mean, betting on baseball is legitimately hard. Legitimately hard. Dana White Contender Series is on tonight. Do you like the Kareem Hunt signing? Is this Carr's career year? Kareem Hunt signing, it's okay. I didn't think that they would really sign someone like that, but I guess with losing Eno and then Kamara being out for 3 games, I guess they really wanted to have someone that they felt confident in for those first 3 games. I mean, I'm sure he'll have some sort of a role, um, you know, afterwards. But I mean, they still have Jamal Williams also, so it's like, is there really room for Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Kareem Hunt all to get carries? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what value Kareem Hunt has after those first 3 games. From a fantasy perspective, it hurts Jamal Williams certainly because I mean you were probably a little bit excited about Jamal Williams like for those first 3 games. Like maybe he's someone you could draft late and plan to use him for those first 3 games. But now they bring Kareem Hunt in. I would not want any of those guys in fantasy outside of Alvin Kamara. I still think Alvin Kamara is a fine pick where his current ADP is. But yeah, it complicates the situation fantasy wise. Real life, I guess it makes some sense. Dewan, what's up? So, all right, let's dive in here. Let me pull up the betting odds. These odds will be courtesy of FanDuel. We have the New Orleans Saints as the current favorite. They are plus 130. Atlanta Falcons second at plus 210, Carolina Panthers third at plus 360, and then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all the way down at plus 750 to win the division. So, me personally, I think this is a three-team race to win this division. And I'm not really as bullish as others are on the Carolina Panthers this season. So really, I think it's a two-team race, but the Panthers could work their way in there if the other teams, like the overall quality of the division, is not super strong. So the Panthers could work their way in there if they this season, as I've seen other people are. So for me, really, it's a two-team race between New Orleans and Atlanta. Tampa, I think, has no chance to win this division. I don't know if Tampa is very like motivated to win. I've seen some talk. I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Trask starts for them over Baker Mayfield. Kyle Trask was drafted higher than Desmond Ritter, and people seem to just have completely written Kyle Trask off. I don't know if Kyle Trask is going to be very good, but people seem to think Desmond Ritter is going to be good. So I don't know what the difference is between Desmond Ritter and Kyle Trask, but it seems like the Bucks could be inclined to give Kyle Trask some playing time if they do end up going with Baker Mayfield to start the season. I'm not sure if you could find odds on it, but I would be willing to bet that Baker Mayfield is the first quarterback benched in the 2023 season because, like I said, I don't think the Bucks are very motivated to win this year. I don't think that they're going to win, so I don't think that they really have any chance to win this division. I mean, the team has kind of gotten worse from last season till now, and Tom Brady could barely win with them. So I don't know why we would think Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask could win with this team when Tom Brady could barely do it. So they're completely out. Panthers. Some people seem to be betting the Panthers to win this division. I just don't see it. With Bryce Young in his first year, Frank Reich has a lot to prove to me as a coach this season, given what he did in Indy. I do think he got a raw deal in Indy, but like I said, he still has a lot to prove to me in terms of being a head coach. So I'm not as high on Carolina as others. So it's a two-team race: New Orleans and Atlanta. And look, I'm not as high on the Falcons as other people. So I think a lot of times this season, it's gonna be me going up against the Falcons backers. I mean, I think that they have like I kind of understand it because I do think their defense will be better than last year, given some of the moves they've brought some guys over from New Orleans, bring in Jesse Bates. Um, I understand it. I do think the pass rush will be better. They're basically the worst pass rush team in the league last year, and you know, I kind of understand it. But I'm gonna be more. I'm more on the Saints side of this. I think the Saints are gonna win this division. I think the Saints are the best team in the division, and I just I don't have any faith in Desmond Ritter. I don't think Desmond Ritter's good, and anyone that's hyping him up, I don't see it. Um, I've seen these people that think Desmond Ritter is gonna like break out like Jalen Hurts. Uh, you know, eh, Desmond Ritter is not even on the level of a dual threat quarterback like someone like Jalen Hurts. I mean, look, we got 4 starts from Desmond Ritter in 2022, and he ran for 9 yards, 9 yards, 8 yards, and then 38 yards in Week 18 when or at 38 yards against the Saints uh, in his first start. So he comes out his first start, 6 carries for 38 yards. Great. After that, 8 yards, 9 yards, 9 yards. What are we doing here? This is not a dual threat. That's not a dual threat quarterback. Now, is he mobile? Sure, but he's not going to come in here and run like Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields, like it seems to me some of these people think. So I don't think he's very accurate. I don't think he's a good quarterback. So that's my pause with the Atlanta Falcons. I think that the quarterback play is not going to be good. I think that the coach, Arthur Smith, is suspect. I mean, it's clear that the Atlanta Falcons want to run the ball. We all know this, right? But when you have a weapon like Kyle Pitts that's drafted at basically the highest possible position that you can draft a tight end in the NFL, and you fail to use him properly, I don't have much faith in you, for the remainder of the team. Now, on top of that, you also have a receiving core that just leaves a lot to be desired. And again, I know they want to run the ball. That's fine and well. But let's just, for example, say that Drake London gets hurt, right? God forbid Drake London gets hurt. Who are they going to throw the ball to? They don't have anybody to throw the ball to, not named Drake London or Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts is coming back from an MCL tear where he's pretty much been limited the entirety of camp thus far. Like I have literally actually no idea how healthy, truthfully, Kyle Pitts is right now. So we're already worried about that. Let's just for a second play devil's advocate and say Drake London gets hurt early in the season. Like they're throwing to Scotty Miller and some of these guys, like, it's just not good. It's a very, very bad situation for them in terms of pass catching, and maybe they can get away with that because of how they want to run the ball. But I just don't have a lot of faith in it. I don't think the offense is going to be very good. Um, and I don't know if you're betting like their win total right now, they're pretty juiced over 8.5 wins. If you're betting the Atlanta Falcons to win 9 games with Desmond Ritter at quarterback and those receivers, I don't know. I don't know. That's just not something I'm willing to do. I don't think Arthur Smith is very sharp as a coach, and I don't think Desmond Ritter is a very good quarterback. So the thing working in their favor though is yes, the division's bad. Yes, they have a pretty easy schedule. They get to play Washington. They get to play Arizona. Like they get to play some of these bad teams. So that definitely works in their favor. And, I wouldn't be shocked if they do manage to win the division just because of the ineptitude of these other three teams that they're going against. But I'm much more on the anti Atlanta train this season. They seem to be like the most popular, like they're pretty much everyone's sleeper team that I've seen. Everyone that like has like a hot sleeper team, it's like always the Atlanta Falcons. So, uh, I don't know. I think the Saints set up much better here. The Saints have a very easy schedule also. We went over it yesterday, but if we pull up, the Saints schedule, their first they don't play a team that I'm definitively like they're gonna lose until like December when they play the Detroit Lions. Like they have definitely an advantageous schedule early on. They ran pure. They're going to get Kamara back earlier than expected. Derek Carr, I think, is clearly the best quarterback in the division right now. Bryce Young could be better than Derek Carr down the road, but Bryce Young's never started an NFL game. Bryce Young, I like, but he's also 5'9". Like I don't even think he's 5'10". I think he's 5'9". So he has things working against him. Baker Mayfield, not good. Kyle Trask, complete unknown. Desmond Ritter, I don't think he's good. So Derek Carr is the best quarterback in the division. Derek Carr has really, really good weapons. I mean, he's going to get Kamara back. Um, he has a pretty decent offensive line. Going to get Kamara back earlier than expected. He has Chris Olave. He should have Michael Thomas. They have Juwan Johnson, who broke out last season as a explosive tight end that can score touchdowns, especially in the red zone. Rashid Shaheed broke out last season as a rookie, big playability. So I like their weapons. Now, I do think the defense is a little suspect here. For years, I mean, the Saints had a very, very solid defensive unit, and that really hasn't been the case. Maybe like last year, I don't think they're going to be extremely good this year, but I think it's good enough to win a bad division. So for me, it's the Saints over the Falcons. Everyone is on the Falcons, and I'm lower on them than consensus. Would you agree this is the weakest division in the NFC possible in the NFL? Yeah, I think it's definitely probably between the NFC South and the AFC South. But Jacksonville is better than, all four of these teams. So I guess yeah, we would definitely go with this division is probably the worst in football. They're gonna be sellers. Banks, you talking about the Bucks? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Bucks will be sellers. I could see that. Bucks have just like, man, their offensive line was so bad last year. I mean, that's part of the reason why, they didn't perform well. And I don't think it's really going to be any better. They still have Tristan Wirfs, and I think they're getting Jensen back. But outside of those two, very, very suspect offensive line. And the last time we saw Baker Mayfield with, a bad offensive line, he was, one of the worst starting quarterbacks in football. And he threw a ton of interceptions. So I just really have no faith there. I like Heineke more. Are you saying you like Heineke more than Desmond Ritter? I mean, I look, I could be wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong, and people will clip this. I'll have to come on here and say I was wrong. But I just don't see the Desmond Ritter hype. They also got Brian Edwards. Yeah, I don't know how good Brian Edwards is, to be quite honest with you. But I like the Saints at plus 130, whatever it was, plus 130 to win the division. That would be my bet there. I think there's some value on, Saints to start. DraftKings has a bet. You can make a bet to start 5-0. I don't know what the odds are on New Orleans, but I think there's some value on stuff like that, just given how easy the first few games of their schedule are. So Saints are my look here. Panthers, I don't know, man. Frank Reich, I mean, he definitely got a raw deal in Indy with them trading for Carson Wentz, which was a terrible move. He had a old year of Philip Rivers. He didn't have much to work with, but at the same time, Frank Reich is also known as a quarterback coach. Like that's supposed to be his thing, is that he's really really good and he can get the most out of his quarterbacks. And he did not get the most out of his quarterbacks. He did not get the most out of Philip Rivers. It was pretty much Philip Rivers' worst year ever. Now I know he was very old and couldn't throw the ball, but still, you think he would be able to work something up. Carson Wentz, I think it's kind of the jury's out that he's just not a very good quarterback at this stage. But again, he did not get the most out of Carson Wentz. So he has a lot to prove to me this season. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think Bryce Young, the size is definitely a concern, but I have a little bit more faith in him just because I do think in terms of processing information quickly and reading the field, I think he's much better than similar smaller quarterbacks that got drafted high. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, for example. I think he's better than those guys in terms of his ability to process information quickly, get the ball out of his hands, read the field. So I think he has a leg up in terms of that, but I mean, there's a chance he could be smaller than Kyler. Like he looks really tiny, so he does have that, working against him. And I think that there was a time period, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where people were starting to come around. Like maybe size isn't all that matters at quarterback, and that's when we saw Baker Mayfield go number one in the draft. We saw Kyler Murray go number one in the draft. And, that trend has continued with Bryce Young going number one in the draft, despite really, really bad results. I mean, Baker has flamed out completely. That Kyler contract looks like pretty much the worst contract in the NFL. And the Cardinals are probably going to be, I mean, they're probably going to draft Caleb Williams next year. Like Kyler Murray, that does not look like a good contract right now. So, we'll see what happens. Fifth game versus the Pats scares me. I don't know, man. The appeal of like the Patriots scaring me has kind of worn off. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I don't really fear the New England Patriots like I used to. I really don't. Breakout player for fantasy. Are you asking from the Panthers or are you asking from like the division as a whole? Uh, if you're asking for division from the whole, like from the whole division, I mean, I would have to think about that. Saints don't really have anyone I think is gonna break out. Like I like Chris Olave where he's going. I think you can pick him in the where his ADP is currently. Um, I'm a little bit lower on the Falcons guys. Like I was just talking. Like I'm not gonna take Bijan Robinson in the first round. I went on that rant about that yesterday. Don't really want Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I'm just concerned about the injury. So I probably won't be taking him any. And there's just nobody else on the team that you would really want. So Falcons, nobody. Panthers, they don't really have any breakout. Like I'm a little bit lower on Miles Sanders than consensus in terms of season long. Um, Pass catching wise, I mean, they drafted Jonathan Mingo higher than he was expected to go. But if I was going to take a Panthers pass catcher in fantasy, I would probably take a shot on DJ Chark just because we've seen it from him at the NFL level. We've seen the big playability that he has. So DJ Chark would be my pick of someone I would want on my season long team for the Panthers. And Tampa, I don't like anyone on Tampa other than Rashad White. I think Rashad White is a smash fantasy pick this year, and I'm going to have a lot of him in my drafts that I'll be doing for the rest of the month. I think that his receiving upside is I think that his receiving upside is understated, whereas Bijan Robinson's receiving upside is overstated, which we talked about yesterday. Like the Falcons want to run the ball, they don't throw the ball, and when they do throw the ball, they're going to be thrown to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So I don't know where the receiving output is really going to settle for Bijan Robinson. I don't think that volume in terms of total pass attempts from the offense is there for him to really carve out like a huge receiving role. So I just don't think that receiving ceiling is there that people think it is. Whereas on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're going to have to throw the ball because their defense is not good. And I think that especially with how bad the offensive line is, that could play even more into favor of Rashad White because he's going to catch dump offs from Baker Mayfield, who can't stand to be in a pocket collapsing, so he's going to dump it off. He did target the running backs more last season than we ever saw him do so in Cleveland, and it makes sense because when he played in Cleveland, he had a very, very good offensive line. Now, when he gets on these teams that aren't as good, they don't have as good of offensive line. He's going to dump it down. And look, you won't find a bigger Sean Tucker fan than me. I think Sean Tucker was extremely underrated in college. I think that had he not been dealing with this heart issue, I think he would have been a more trendy kind of sleeper for people for like the draftnik community. But I think Sean Tucker's very, very good. But I don't know. I think Rashad White is good. Um, and I think Rashad White's one of my favorite picks in season long right now. So if you're looking for a breakout player, I'm not really sure, but Rashad White is someone that I really want to target in my drafts. And then late round receiver, I don't mind DJ Chark just for the big playability, especially in like a best ball. Probably DJ Chark is a better best ball type player, I think, than in your like redraft leagues. I know it's a long shot, but I can see Michael Thomas stealing comeback player from Damar Hamlin. I think that if Damar Hamlin plays one snap, he will automatically win comeback player of the year. I don't think there's any like debates about it. I don't think there's any debates. I think if he plays a single snap, then he automatically wins it. I wonder what are the odds. Speaking of that, I bet he was like minus 250. I bet he's minus 300 now if I check. Where is this at? Season awards. I don't see it on FanDuel. Let me check DK. Does anyone have odds? Comeback player of the year odds while I'm looking for this, so I don't have to look. I don't know why it's not on FanDuel. I don't see it on DraftKings either. I don't know. They might not. They might have just pulled this. He was like minus 200 the last time I looked, which I think was like too little. Any futures bets from this division? Just Saints. Like I said, Saints to win the division. I think is fine at plus 130. Um, if you have odds on DraftKings where they have that like to go 5-0 teams to go 5-0 bet, I think there's some value on the Saints with how easy their schedule is. Derek Carr's underrated. I think he's perfectly fine. Like I said, best quarterback in the division for sure. And I think they set up best, personally. Overall, that about does it though for that. We can't talk a little baseball here. I'll pull this up. Another big night for the money line predictor yesterday. The top plus money pick won once again. It was the I think it was the Reds last night. Hamlin's minus 285. Yeah, I mean, he should be probably like minus 350, but he has to play a snap and he's going to win. We need to find this year's Detroit 17 touchdown increase from 21 to 22, and Jacksonville 16 touchdown increase from 21 to 22. Atlanta looking good. Yeah, their offensive line's good, but again, I just don't. I don't know. I think that the team is going to play slow first and foremost. The team is going to play slow. If you look at Detroit last year, for example, got a very, very good season from Jared Goff, right? Like, arguably his best season ever. Jared Goff was a number one pick, and they got basically his best season ever. And then let's look at Jacksonville, right? Trevor Lawrence, prolific quarterback prospect, one of the best quarterback prospects of the last 20 years. And then let's look at Atlanta, Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter stinks. So bad quarterback play. The team's going to play really slow. And I mean, I don't know. Even if you say that Atlanta is going to be Detroit or Jacksonville, and they're going to increase, by 20 touchdowns, like who do you want other than other than Bijan Robinson, who you have to spend first round draft capital to get on your team, or Drake London in the middle rounds? Like, who do you want in fantasy? Like I don't see really the upside there. Like Drake London's the only guy that I could build a case for drafting, because you would have to spend a first round pick on Bijan Robinson, which I really don't want to do. And Kyle Pitts, we're concerned about him coming back from the injury. So bad quarterback play. The team's going to play really slow, right? And I don't. Who am I going to pick in my fantasy draft that I'm going to benefit from that? They don't throw the ball enough for me to consider anyone after Drake London in terms of receiving, and Bijan goes round one, so you're really not able to get him. So I think for me, I guess I'd have to ponder that question a little bit, but yeah, I just don't. Again, I'm just lower on the Atlanta situation than pretty much anyone else. And look, I'm fine. Like you guys know, like I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not saying I'm right all the time. I do think I'm right more than I'm wrong, and I think people that have followed me for 5 years can vouch for that. But I'm not afraid to be wrong, and I'm not afraid to have a differing opinion from other people. And I'm just not buying it when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons this year. And maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll win the division and go on and win a playoff game or something. And I'll come on the stream at 3 p.m. in January, and I'll tell you guys I was wrong. But I am just not buying the hype of the Atlanta Falcons. I think that there's other teams in the NFC. If you're building a case for a sleeper team, I think there's other teams that have kind of just more attractive situations as a whole. Like I tweeted this out like a week or so ago, but I look at the Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay Packers have a better coach. I think they have a better quarterback. Like even if neither Jordan Love or Desmond Ridder are good, Jordan Love at least has had the opportunity to sit behind one of the best quarterbacks ever for multiple years and get ready to play. So, we're going to find out quickly if he's good, but I think he has a better chance of being good than Desmond Ritter based off what I've seen from them so far. So, potential for better quarterback, better coach. The weapons are still good for Green Bay. I think Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, obviously, both really good weapons in the backfield. The Packers are similar to the Falcons in that they're not going to play super fast. They're going to want to run the ball for the most part. And then receiving core, I think, is a little more deeper for Green Bay. I mean, Christian Watson is electric. I think Reed, I tweeted it out today, but Reed is better than Romeo Dobbs. I'm not scared at all about Romeo Dobbs in terms of Jaden Reed. I think Jaden Reed is a baller. I think he's going to be really good. So you have him there. Um, you know, Laporta has some potential. So I think overall, I would rather bet. And if you look at even win total, Vegas tells us they're similar, right? Atlanta is, I think, minus 120 over 8.5 wins. Green Bay's minus 120 over 7.5. So they're pretty close. And if I'm going to pick one of those teams as like a sleeper team in the NFC, I would rather trust the Green Bay Packers than I would the Atlanta Falcons. And in terms of like the division, you can make that argument, but I'm not as high on Chicago as other people. And I think Minnesota's defense is terrible. Now they're going to put up points certainly with Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. They're going to put up points, but I don't really fear the Minnesota Vikings at all this year. I think that their defense is terrible. I think they're going to be bad as a team, and I'm not high on Chicago. So that comes down to Green Bay versus Detroit. I think that Detroit is far and away better than anyone in the NFC South in terms of having to compete against them. But it's still the Detroit Lions at the end of the day, right? Like we've all of a sudden just anointed the Detroit Lions as like the sleeper team, like oh they're the most popular Super Bowl pick, and the team didn't even make the playoffs last year, right? I mean like we're acting like this team fell just short last year. They didn't even make the playoffs. And anytime the collective community is just so chalky on one team, this year it's the Lions, I'm a little bit more skeptical. But I do think the Lions are good. I'm not saying they're bad, but it would not shock me whatsoever if Green Bay won that division. Anyways, we'll save that for the NFC North preview. In terms of baseball, like I said, moneyline predictor yesterday, another good night. Sign up at comer.com/pricing if you want access. I have it pulled up for today. And we can kind of dive in here. I'm going to switch over to the live trends tool. Starting off, I probably won't go through the full slate because we've already been on here for a half an hour talking football. So I'll just quickly give some of the spots I like. I think there's some value on Cincinnati again. Yesterday I liked Miami, the money line predictor like Cincy. The money line predictor was right. Today, money line predictor like Cincy again. I like Cincy. I like how they match up against Garrett. They're underdogs at plus 126 over on FanDuel. So Cincinnati on the money line looks pretty decent to me. Moving down here, there's also some sharp money coming in on them as well. Moving down, I like the Orioles as underdogs here. You can see they're pretty public, though. I don't know. Both the Reds and the Orioles are public today, but they've been pretty public teams for the majority of the second half, so I guess we don't have to worry about it that much. Orioles have been a smash for me as underdogs all season. Especially at home. If you get them as an underdog, I think they're viable. So Orioles at plus 110 are a pretty decent look for me. Mets and Cubs, we have Jameson Taillon and Carlos Carrasco, two pretty bad pitchers. Cubs let me down yesterday, but I think you can go right back to them here. And yeah, that about does it for me overall in terms of baseball. I have a few other totals which I'll give out in the Discord for premium members, but Cubs, Orioles, and Reds, two underdogs on the card for me today. Those are the three teams I like the most. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you have any further questions, reach out to me in the Discord. Tomorrow we'll be doing the NFC East. So tomorrow's division, NFC East. Then we're going to do NFC North. Um, and then we'll finish out on Friday. 10 plus run call. Ooh, for me tonight, Anthony, I would go with the. I think the Boston Red Sox have some appeal here, and I think that if you wanted to take a stab on either side of the Mets Cubs game, I guess I would lean Cubs because I like them. So Cubs and Boston Red Sox would be my picks. But thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow 3 p.m. Eastern. And good luck with your bets tonight. I'll see you guys tomorrow.